It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
And welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Breakfast, available on iHeartRadio every morning and also on Spotify and Apple and wherever you get your podcast from. Well, the weekend has rolled around again. It is a Saturday morning, the 5th day for November for 2022. A weekend, a day today of property transacting. If you are out in amongst it, good luck with that. Yesterday, talking of property, we were looking at Sydney's inner west and highlighting the big difference that you'll always see between freestanding and apartment property prices. And of course, it's a big attraction for first home buyers to get into their first property into an apartment. And also many prefer apartments for the security and also for the walk away and lock up factor when you take off overseas. Now, Sydney's Parramatta is a point in case not only for people living in apartments there, but the sheer volume of people. Domain reported around 30,000 people call Parramatta home and more than 85% live in apartments. We know infrastructure is so important. Parramatta has got pretty good public transport networks that are easy to use, and their infrastructure grows next year when the light rail opens. So that is an interesting Saturday morning statistic for you in Parramatta. 85% living in apartments this weekend.
It's your weekend real estate breakfast, a serial-sized podcast about what's happening in your local backyard every Saturday morning on the Real Estate Podcast.
And coming up, we are back to Queensland, back into Harvey Bay with Scott Mitchell, the principal there from Mitchell's Realty in Harvey Bay. We'll be finding out more details about why you should move to Harvey Bay. It is the sunshine capital of Australia. More happy people live there than anywhere else in Australia. So look it up, Harvey Bay. He's going to be here in just a moment. If you're celebrating your birthday today for the 5th of November, Brian Adams, the Canadian rocker, he is turning 62. And one of my favourite actors, Tilda Swinton, the English actor, she is turning 61 today. And hard to believe, if you know who Art Garfunkel is, he's having a birthday today. He's turning 81.
It's your real estate podcast for breakfast. It's the Main Centre Forecast with PRD, selling smarter every day.
Let's head around Australia and have a look at your weather on this Saturday morning. Firstly, we go to Sydney. Good morning to you. Expecting a dry day today. A little bit of cloud cover, a high of 24 degrees. In Melbourne, also partly cloudy but dry, 22 is your forecast top. Brisbane expecting one or two pieces of rain with a high of 25 degrees. And in Perth today, expecting the blue skies, sunshine and 27 degrees.
We talk with leading property commentators with analysis, predictions, forecasts and what's trending every morning from 6:30.
Well, one of the considerations now when you're buying property is to look at some of these weather events which make people now question just how viable some different properties are. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go to Scott Mitchell. He is the principal from Mitchell's Realty and talk property in Harvey Bay. And a very good morning to you, Scott. Welcome back to the Real Estate Podcast.
Yeah, good morning, mate, and thanks for having me back on again.
I think this is probably a really good talking point, particularly where you are there in Harvey Bay, because you have not been impacted by recent weather events, and there's a very good reason for that. So perhaps let's just talk firstly about the likes of a Maryborough with the river running through it.
Yeah, correct. Look, the obviously those catastrophic flood events that have been happening from south of us, from Gympie and Maryborough south, all the way down to Victoria. We've been so fortunate here in Harvey Bay that the only major river system we have in the area is the Mary River. It does flow through almost the centre of Maryborough, but Harvey Bay is not impacted by any of those flood events at all. even where the Mary River goes out into the Great Sandy Straits inside Gari or Fraser Island. There's no flooding issues historically in the River Heads area either. The only proposed challenge that Harvey Bay could experience in time to come is from a storm surge. So if we ever had a cyclone come down the coast and it tracked between Gari and the mainland inside of Harvey Bay, that would pose most likely some significant issues across Harvey Bay as far as storm surge goes.
Yes, well, that's certainly something for people to think about with Harvey Bay. And let's just have a look, Scott, at the buyer volumes at the moment, what is happening there, because I understand that they have gone down somewhat. So maybe just explain that. Also, along with the affordability, because when compared to the Sunshine Coast and the Gold Coast, Harvey Bay is still coming through as more affordable.
Our buyer volume certainly peaked probably late April, early May. That was the biggest boom period Harvey Bay has experienced in our property cycle in history. So from January through to about the end of April was a crazy time to be in real estate. So we've seen probably 2/3, 70% of the buyer volume has gone from the market at present, but we would still exceed what we were experiencing this time last year. And since, ironically, since COVID, we've seen a 25 to 30% increase in values across Harvey Bay. If you are a buyer at the moment, you will be dealing with less competition. I won't suggest that it is a buyer's market, however. Our market really did not see any significant growth or growth in general for the last decade. So we came off a very low base at the start of this boom. We're still very affordable. If you compare the values across Harvey Bay with our average medium, depending on suburb, sitting between about 550 and 600,000, we're still very affordable when compared to Sunshine Coast and Gold Coast, which is where still today a lot of our buyers are coming from. Those markets are still showing strong growth, and those sellers that may be tiring with the traffic and crowding in those areas, they're taking the opportunity to still sell at a great value there, buy in at a lesser value in Harvey Bay, and enjoy the benefits and lifestyle that comes with living here.
You know, it has to be said, doesn't it, in terms of when that is happening, when people are retiring, that is a great barometer. It is a great indicator on follow that trend, because if you do, you're going to end up probably saving money. And in this case, I don't know if you can put a percentage on from the Gold Coast, because it depends on where in the Gold Coast, where in the Sunshine Coast, but you would have to be, I would think, at least be saving somewhere between 20 and 25%.
Yes, certainly. I would agree with that, definitely. It is the common comment that we're getting from these buyers that have sold down there is those areas are getting quite busy, and that's unlikely to change, particularly with the lead up to the Olympics over the next 10 years. The amount of projects that are going on and residential developments that are going on really just north of Brisbane, it's incredible.
And Scott, one of the things about Harvey Bay, and I've been there, as you mentioned, you've got those little wee towns that all sort of merge together, the Pialbas from memory, the Urangans, the Torquays, they all sort of merge to form this Harvey Bay lifestyle that people now go to. But there is something about just how relaxed Harvey Bay is.
Harvey Bay does offer that amazing lifestyle, and that's why we've seen those people that are coming here to retire or semi-retire, even in this current environment and climate economically, are not so dependent on employment, but them being present in our community, fueling or supporting our biggest industry, which is healthcare. So the healthcare industry is our biggest employer in Harvey Bay and still rapidly expanding. Probably one of the most exciting one for a lot of people is our Bunnings store has been expanded. It's an enormous, you can just about navigate around Harvey Bay by just saying that you want to go east, north, west of Bunnings, because you can't miss the thing. It's huge, and it's smack in the middle of our CBD district at the moment. It's a $59 million project, and they're now pushing it through to have it open by Christmas. And that one shop alone is going to bring another potentially 100 plus jobs. And then across the road from it, we've got the Spotlight Group building their new building, and Anaconda's coming with that as well. So there's some fantastic projects and more to come. So Harvey Bay is definitely heading in the right direction.
And just before I let you go, Scott, what is the population now of Harvey Bay? Where does that sit?
Yeah, I actually haven't had a recent update on that, but I believe we topped somewhere around 110 across the postcode now, which is 4655, which does capture sort of just slightly to the north of Harvey Bay general area at Toogoom, and then out to River Heads, and you've got some rural areas in between there as well. So that's a really good topic, actually. I'll pick up on that for our next one.
All right. Okay, well, we'll leave it there. Enjoy the sunshine in Harvey Bay. Enjoy that new Bunnings. Hopefully it's going to be open by Christmas time. And it all just seems to be sort of coming together. It's, as you say, it's still very much undervalued. Thanks again for coming on to the Real Estate Breakfast.
We appreciate catching up with you guys and look forward to the next one.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.